Hello, my babies. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you had a great day. Did you learn something great? Did you get some fresh air? I looked up comeuppulence. Comeuppulence from the previous chapter means punishment, revenge, payback. So comeuppulence, her divine comeuppance. So her divine payback, her divine retribution, her divine revenge. So makes sense coming from the rat. So, all right, let's get to it. Chapter 37, A Small Taste. She was asleep and dreaming of her mother, the queen, who was holding out a spoon to her and saying, "Taste this, my sweet pea. Taste this, my darling, and tell me what you think." The princess leaned forward and sipped some soup from the spoon her mother held out to her. "Oh, Mama," she said, "this is wonderful. It's the best soup I've ever eaten." "Yes," said the queen, "it is wonderful, isn't it?" Now remember, the queen had the mouse, Roscaro, Despero fell into her soup and died, and then all soup was outlawed. So they went and took all soup spoons out of everybody in the village. So this is why it's significant with this dream. The princess leaned forward and sipped some soup from the spoon her mother held out to her. "Oh, Mama," she said, "it's wonderful. It's the best soup I've ever eaten." "Yes," said the queen, "it is wonderful, isn't it?" "May I have some more?" said the pea. "I gave you a small taste so that you would not forget," said her mother. "I gave you a small taste so that you would remember." "I want more." But as soon as the princess said this, her mother was gone. She disappeared, and the bowl and the soup spoon disappeared along with her. "Lost things," said the pea, "more lost things." And then she heard her name. She turned, happy, thinking her mother had come back. But the voice was not her mother's. The voice belonged to somebody else, and it was coming from some place far away, and it was telling her to wake up, wake up. The pea opened her eyes and saw Marjorie Sow standing over her bed, a knife in one hand and a candle in the other. "Mig," she said. "Gore," said Mig softly. "Say it," commanded Roscaro. Mig closed her eyes and shouted her piece. "If you does not want to get hurt, princess, you must come with me." "Whatever for?" said the princess in an annoyed tone. As I have noted before, the princess was not a person who was used to being told what to do. "What are you talking about?" Mig opened her eyes and shouted, "You got to come with me so after we take some lessons, you some long lessons and me some short ones, together we lay down in the deep downs. I can be you and you can be me." "No," shouted Roscaro from Mig's pocket. "No, no, what are you doing?" "Who said that?" "Your Highness," said Roscaro. As he crawled out of Mig's pocket, he made his way up to her shoulder and situated himself there, laying his tail across her neck to balance himself. "Your Highness," he said again, and he raised the spoon slowly off his head and smiled, displaying his mouth of truly hideous teeth. Remember, they were all yellow and pointy. "She is, as you can quite clearly see, in possession of a knife, a large knife, and she will, if pushed, use it." "This is ridiculous," the princess said. "You can't threaten me. I'm a princess." "Well," said Roscaro, "are all too aware of the fact of what you are." "We," said Roscoe, "are all too aware of the fact of what you are." A knife, however, cares nothing for the fact that you are royalty, and you will bleed, I assume, just like any other human. The pea looked at Mig, and Mig smiled. The knife glinted in the light of the candle. Mig, she said, her voice shaking the tiniest bit. I really don't think, said Roscoe, that Mig would need much persuasion to use that knife. Princess, she is a very dangerous individual, easily led. But we are friends, said P, aren't we, Mig? Said Mig. Trust me, Roscoe, you are not friends. And I think it would be best if you addressed all your communications to me, Princess. I am the one in charge here. Look at me. The pea looked directly at the rat and at the spoon on his head. Her heart skipped one beat and then two. Do you know me, Princess? No, she said, lowering her head. I do not know you. But reader, she did know him. He was the rat who had fallen in her mother's soup, and he was wearing her dead mother's spoon on his head. The princess kept her head down. She concentrated on containing her rage that was leaping up inside of her. Look again, Princess. Or can you not bear to look? Does it pain your royal sensibilities to let your eyes rest on a rat? I don't know you, she said, and I'm not afraid to look at you. The pea raised her head slowly. Her eyes were defiant. She stared at the rat. Very well, said Roscoe, have it your way. You do not know me. Nonetheless, you must do as I say, as my friend here has a knife. So get out of bed, Princess. We're going on a little journey. I would like it if you were dressed in your loveliest gown, the one that you were wearing at the banquet not so long ago. The rat, the princess. Nope, I'm sorry. Mig, the rat, and the princess in bed. There's her little eyes. Mig with the rat, and the knife, and the candle, and the Princess Pea in bed. And put on your crown, said Mig. Put that on your princess head. Yes, said Roscoe. Please, Princess, do not forget your crown. The pea, still staring at Roscoe, pushed the covers back and got out of bed. Move quickly, said Roscoe. We must take our little journey while it is still dark and while the rest of the castle sleeps on. Ignorant, oh so ignorant. I am afraid of your fate. The princess took a gown from her closet. Yes, said Roscoe to himself, that is the one, the very one. Look how it sparkles in the light. Lovely. I will need someone to do my buttons, said the princess as she stepped into the dress. Mig, you must help me. Little princess, said Roscoe, do you think that you can outsmart a rat? Our dear Marjorie Sow will not lay down her knife, not even for a moment. Will you, Marjorie Sow? Because that might ruin your chances of becoming a princess. Isn't that right? Gore, said Mig. That's right. Excuse me. And while Mig held the knife pointed in the direction of the princess, the pea sat and let the rat crawl over her back, doing her buttons up for her one by one. The princess held very still. The only movement she allowed was this. She licked her lips over and over again because she thought that she could taste there was sweet saltness in the soup that her mother had fed her in her dream. I have not forgotten, Mama, she whispered. I have not forgotten you. I have not forgotten soup. Chapter 38, To the Dungeon. The strange threesome made their way down the golden stairs of the castle. The princess and Mig walked side by side, and Roscoe hid himself in the pocket of Mig's apron, and Mig pointed the sharp tip of the knife at the princess's back, and together they went down, down, down. The princess was led to her fate as around her everyone slept. The king slept in his giant bed with his crown on his head and his hands crossed across his chest, dreaming that his wife, the queen, was a bird with green and gold feathers who called his name, Philip, 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 without ceasing. Cook slept in a too small bed off the kitchen, dreaming of a recipe for soup she could not find. Where did I put that? She mumbled in her sleep. Where did that recipe go? It was the queen's favorite soup. I must find it. And not far from Cook, in the pantry, atop of the bag of flour, slept the mouse Despereaux, dreaming, as you know, reader, of knights in shining armor, of darkness, and of light. And in the whole of the darkened, sleeping castle, there was only the light of one candle in the hand of Marjorie Sow. The candle shone on the princess's dress and made it sparkle, and the princess walked tall in the light and tried not to be afraid. In this story, reader, we have talked about the heart of the mouse and the heart of the rat and the heart of the serving girl Marjorie Sow, but we have not talked about the heart of the princess. Like most hearts, it was complicated, shaded with dark and dabbled with light. The dark things in the princess's heart were these: a very, very small, hot, burning coal of hatred for the rat who was responsible for her mother's death. I can see that. And the other darkness was a tremendous sorrow, a deep sadness that her mother was dead and that the princess could now only talk to her in her dreams. And what of the light in the princess's heart? Reader, I am pleased to tell you that the P was a kind person. And perhaps more important, she was empathetic, meaning she felt really sorry for people. She didn't want to hurt people. Do you know what it means to be empathetic? I will tell you. It means that when you are being forcibly taken to a dungeon, when you have a large knife pointed at your back, when you are trying to be brave, you are able still to think for a moment of the person who is holding the knife. You were able to think, oh, poor Mig. She wants to be a princess so badly, and she thinks that this is the way. Poor, poor Mig. What must it be like to want something that desperately? The reader, that is empathy. And now you have a small map of the princess's heart: hatred, sorrow, kindness, and empathy. The heart that she carried inside her as she went down the golden stairs and through the kitchen, and finally, just as the sky outside the castle began to lighten, down into the dark of the dungeon where the rat and with the rat and the serving girl. That's it for tonight, or unless if you go forward to the next video. That's up to your mom. I love you dearly. Sweet dreams, my love. Mwah.